In the dance of our conversation where wisdom meets wonder, we pause to acknowledge the spark behind today's enlightened episode, Keith's Cacao, a key to unlocking your inner magic. Have you ever felt a hidden reservoir of creativity, focus, and energy within you, just waiting to be unleashed? This insight is shared with you by Keith's Cacao. Imagine a cup of pure, ceremonial-grade cacao as your companion to unlocking that door. Harvested from sacred mountain rainforests of Guatemala, Keith's Cacao isn't just any cacao. It's a gateway to clarity and heightened creativity. Whether you're crafting your next masterpiece or seeking balance in the hustle, let Keith's Cacao guide you. Discover more at riseinterversity.com/sponsors and embrace your transformation. Unleash your inner magic with Keith's Cacao.
Welcome to the crossroads of dreams and wisdom, where ambition dances with the soul. You're listening to The Balanced Visionary, aligning ambition with soulful success. I'm Jen, your guide on this journey of self-discovery and achievement. Each week we'll explore the paths of personal growth, spiritual depth, and professional triumphs. Together, we'll unearth the secret to a life where success is not just what we achieve, but how we thrive. So visionaries, are you ready to transform your ambitions into a journey of the heart? Let's embark on this adventure together. Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of The Balanced Visionary, where we redefine success by harmonizing ambition with spiritual wisdom. I'm your host, Jennifer Nunez, here to guide you through another episode designed to inspire and transform. Today, we have a special edition, our couples edition. We're exploring the fascinating intersection of couple dynamics and metaphysical practices with our distinguished guests, Christopher S. Jacobs and Joanna Michaels, the dynamic co-founders of thelifting.net. Together, Christopher and Joanna have navigated the complex waters of spiritual and galactic enlightenment, balancing their personal relationship with their professional mission to elevate human consciousness. For over 20 years, Christopher has utilized his abilities as a psychic medium, channeler, and healer to help individuals clear their energy fields and connect with their higher purposes. Joanna, partnering in life and work has been crucial in amplifying their shared vision and outreach, focusing on empowering others to reclaim their sovereignty and co-create their realities. Their collaborative project, The Lifting, serves as a beacon for those entangled in past life regression or seeking to understand their galactic heritage. It is a testament to their commitment, not just to their own growth, but to lifting others in a new era of freedom and self-discovery. I highly recommend you guys check out this couple because I recently have had a session with Chris that blew my mind. So please definitely dive in. It is an honor to introduce this couple. Welcome, Christopher. Welcome, Joanna. If you could please give an introduction. I'm so happy to have you here on this show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us. Yeah, this it's been interesting. I know this was a little off the cuff. I know your theme was balance and all that. You know, we've run into so many dynamics recently, even in recent days, of how to balance different energies, entities, communications, and with regular life recently. And it's been challenging. You know, me. I was more born into this. Joanna came into it later, so there's also a slightly different dynamic there that has to be balanced out as well as a couple. People that I've noticed, that people that are born into this tend to have a slightly or even a drastically different outlook than people that came into it much later in life. And so there was no accident that we came together as having both those different dynamics in that area. Yeah.
That's great. You pointed that out because that's so true. And that's important with couple dynamics. I know with me, my past couple, when I had my awakening, that's what eventually kind of separated us, was that, you know, even though he was awake to the world and he woke me up to that aspect, I was spiritually awakening and he wasn't quite there yet. So it was very hard for us to find that balance as a couple because I've always been psychically open. And it was hard to come together on that. So to find the balance within our relationship, it did not last.
No, I can see that, you know, and I even said from day one, like further back before I met her, that I made that declaration that it wouldn't work unless, and I had like a laundry list of demands pretty much. I had like this giant scroll of like demands, and eventually I wrote it down physically on a piece of paper, and I put it in on an altar space, had a candle sitting on it, and I said, this is exactly what I require right here. And I know you're supposed to just let things flow, but at the same time, you have to form a manifestation. And that's what I did. And my mother had also recommended that because she had done that before. And it ended up working. It took a few years to come to fruition from the time I wrote it. But I'd also known from dreams and visions, past life stuff, everything, that I knew I was going to eventually be around her, because I was recognizing a certain look, a certain form, you know, after a while. And it's basically, I love this one phrase that came out of Doctor Who one time. It said, premonitions are remembering in reverse. And that's essentially what I was doing. Essentially, where you're getting bits and pieces as it trickles backwards across the timeline, essentially, or what we would perceive as backwards. So that's how I did that. That's how I picked up on that originally, and I was just a child when I first saw it. Also, having been born into that, I was automatically kind of sewn into that tapestry after a while. So, Joanna, do you want?
Well, I think it's really interesting anyway, because again, you have to understand that you are a piece of a soul that is in an avatar body to have an experience that is grounded into a world with boots on the ground, right? With certain dynamics going on. Now, it's important, right, that all of that imbalance is recognized. I think so. If you have a propensity to want to push away the regular world to consistently explore something else, and especially if you find it difficult to be grounded within the regular world, having regular world experiences, then how are you going to achieve that balance? And sometimes that balance comes with bringing people or a person or people into your life that are more okay with the world and what is going on and how to function and maneuver within it, and then bridge these things. So we always said that the us together is a broader brushstroke. So you have individual brushstrokes, but together with a little bit of a sync of belief in what we're going on, we become a broader brushstroke to kind of do things more in a team. So you don't have to always accomplish everything just by yourself in that trying to get balance. And I think that, there's so many things for people to explore, so many things for people to bring into this world. There are so many different ways to, as I say, cut a pie, that you have to understand that, just the simple things like you may have never had a father in your life. You may have never had a grandfather in your life, but there could have been somebody in your life who actually brought those qualities within there that you had a good relationship or a bad relationship with, if you were meant to experience that how some of these things occur is not necessarily all done just in a singularity type of way. And I think that if you can be okay with that and understand the contribution of a group or a whole, then you open yourself up, you know what I mean, to have a much richer experience. It helps that there, for whatever reason, is this foundational respect that we have, because if people think that we're not normal and we can't argue and we can't both be passionate about different things, you would be absolutely wrong. If everybody thinks that I yield constantly, right, to somebody, you're wrong. And so it's a normal, but there is a foundational respect and understanding of the differences of who we are, and an understanding of the contributions that are brought in that seem to be present, that allows for some of that balancing to occur. So I think it's a false statement to say that relationships in general, ones that are balanced, don't have the pendulum swing of emotion or the pendulum swing, because that's normal. That's normal. As we're trying to find balance and sovereignty, and especially authenticity of who you are, it's not about having all of those thoughts and emotions and processing and everything. It's about when you choose to step out and present yourself, this is now actually who you're saying you are. Not all of the pendulum swing and not all of the thoughts and not all, because you need to explore all that, even if it's done in 20 seconds, right? And then you present who you are actually when you interact. And so it's all important to be able to do that, and you do the best you can. There's a falsity as well to think that you will intentionally be with somebody else the rest of your life. No, people come together in the tapestry, they'll come together and then they'll go when they need to go. So I think one of the things when we started the lifting and we tried to start talking about these things and energies and even balance and what does that mean, being balanced, as a 2-year-old is different from being balanced as a 6-year-old, which is different from an 18-year-old. And what does that mean? And what does that look like? And then, you move on. So people will come and go in your lives, potentially people that you partnered with for a while. And then you just kind of try to be a stronger, balanced brushstroke when you do have those times when you're with somebody else. If it's chaos, you probably were meant to experience that, to be able to redefine some things within yourself, and then you move on. And
people can also, I've noticed that even in soulmate situations, people can come together to fix something from the past and then split too. People think there's an exception to the rule in that area. There isn't. And there's a reverse. And I saw this with a friend of mine where he was married to a person that he was desperately trying to stay with the person for their kids and everything. I was like, you can't do that. You have to just allow what's going to happen. Aside from if there's any manipulation. What was happening in the manipulation that was happening from external negative forces is they were trying to keep this couple together to stagnate them, to be able to affect the children in a negative way. So when I explained that to him, he's like, oh, okay. When I said it can go the other direction too. So it's about balance. When he realized that, now everything opened up for him after that. But
the two key words we've used from the beginning that have not changed. So, we're always open to change. We're always open to bringing in information, mulling it around. We say there are a couple of statements that we say. One of them is the truth until a new truth comes along. And if you are open to that type of growth, then that's what will happen. What's good for you now at this moment may be not so good for you later, or what you couldn't really quite decipher now at this moment, you're ready for in a later period of time. And so that's really instead of having sometimes such structured, hard belief systems, to allow yourself to just answer the question, well, what is? I'm open, just, kind of what is, and follow along in that journey. But your truths will change, even, maybe some more subtly, maybe some won't. The one that has not changed, I think, for us, that we do believe is kind of foundational, is when you're looking for balance, be it within partnership, be it within just yourself and life and other people around you, are basically two things. Authenticity of self and
Yes.
sovereignty. Those are basically, for us, one of the two big premises of what we're trying to help people achieve, and understanding the importance of all of that. And then when we discuss things as well, we discuss, again, galactic history, in our opinion, is important. How the world works is important. The unseen is important. It all plays a role. Not afraid to have the discussions about things that some people are very uncomfortable with, because they don't want to let it be a part of their lives, even though it's there, whether they like it or not. And to be able to have these discussions in a way, because in order to be able to be your genuine self and to have sovereignty, you have to know what's going on. And
Yes.
so, it's a big deal. So, learning to be your genuine, authentic self, you got to take down a lot of old belief systems and old understandings that you don't even realize that you were indoctrinated into. And then slowly not be afraid to be who you are, and with all of the consequences. One of the falsities out there as well within trying to find balance is the fact that people define balance as only good. People define balance as only feeling great about yourself. I'm balanced, right? But it's the desire of wanting no pain. It's that desire of wanting that, but that's not how it actually works. What the other thing that we always say to people is that we just wish you your highest good, whatever that is. But within that statement, highest good may mean you're supposed to learn and grow about something, and it may not always be comfortable. And so you have to understand that, it is a normal human feeling that you want to cruise through life, that you want to have no pain, that you want to have nothing that upsets you, nothing that changes you, nothing that changes your belief system. You get into your nice little comfy jammies, and you know what I mean? And you're there. But it really, from our understanding, that's not how growth works. That you will come across things that challenge you, that you will come across things that you don't want to see, that your higher soul was wanting you to see and to bring in and to mull around and what works. So it's really, it's kind of interesting, because I would say, as you're talking about balance as a couple, for us in general, that's one of the big goals in general with life, is balance, being open to seeing all of it, so that you can now make decisions and be able to maneuver through it in a way that helps you be your genuine, authentic self.
Well, you touched on a couple of things, both of y'all actually, that are very important. One, you said authenticity, and there was another word, but touching on that, the authenticity, I know I have done this in the past, and I see other couples now doing it, and I'm an intuitive reader. I try to say, I think there's a total misconception about the twin flame dynamic, but people lose their authenticity, who they are, their individualism, sometimes when they come into these relationships. So you've got to be, the way that higher guidance showed me is that you have to be in who you are, and the other person has to be in who they are, for it to come together to develop its own couple, not lose yourself in the process of it. And I see that some of that does happen in relationships, and then it doesn't work out and they want to know why. That's, for me, in my case, I would get into relationships, and then, what I enjoyed, who I was would kind of disappear, because then I would be following what my boyfriend was doing at the time, if he liked this or whatever. So I liked how you touched on that. And Chris, you really pointed out that even though whatever situation that we are going through, there is stuff that may be happening that is an uncomfortable experience that we have, but it's actually helping balance karmically things that are happening out on a higher level. So I love diving into those type of levels, because what is happening on the macro is how there's so much that's happening above us that we may not fully understand, but that we need to go through that to achieve the balance. In my case, yes, the past relationship that I was in, I needed to go through that, because what that relationship reflected back to me was who I truly was and what I was doing in relationships. So when I started to shift that and take back who I was and being authentic, that's where the relationship started to get out of balance, because he wasn't. And you can tell in that dynamic.
Right. So one of the things that we've tried to use as an example in general, when you talk about yourself, before this expression, before this opportunity of becoming avatars and having all of these things, this grand soul beyond belief, that you can't wrap your mind around, in this perfect, as you say, balance. And then, but instead of thinking it as whatever you're thinking, think of it as a beautiful Rubik's cubes with all of its different size, all its different colors. And then what happens is you start your journey, and then you start to, change and turn the Rubik's cube. And the Rubik's cube, when we first started this in 2017, I just would say we're just all a tangled ball of yarn mess right now, which is the same thing. The Rubik's cube is just all messed up. So, you can imagine having experiences with, different people throughout many lifetimes. Most people have had multiple, not just here but just out there. It's hard to fathom, these experiences and everything gets all tangled up. And so sometimes, even if it is somebody or a soul that you've known forever, and who best to give you a hard time for your highest good than somebody who really knows you well and really is there for you. So, your best friend in the world who knows whatever, you're up in heaven planning a next life or whatever, and you're like, I really want to experience what it's like to have this alcoholic father, or I really want to know what it feels like to, be put in this situation, or I really want to, and you want the experience because it's the experience plus the book knowledge that truly gives that totality of understanding. And so, basically, who comes in to be your worst nightmare? Somebody that later on you wish to be, that is your twin flame or something like that. But you have all of these experiences that you have to come in for and slowly put that Rubik's cube back. So you have to have a balancing. So, you could have come in, met this person because you were on your journey of authenticity and sovereignty to reject what was being done, and who best to throw it in your face, right? But with somebody who cares enough, who says, I'm going to make this as plain as day to you. And so, and you're going to, light bulb moment. I need to walk away from this. I need to show this, personal self-respect more, and need to reject that. And so you then click the Rubik's cube into, a little bit more healed position, let's say, and then you kind of go on. That's what's hard, because again, people get tired. I think one of the things that we say is going on within the energies now is faster movement. So faster experiences. There's not a lot of
Yes.
rest in between them. And so, but it's not because we're weak, it's because we're strong. So the desire to want to deal with a lot of stuff and get things back. It doesn't mean people aren't going to have moments of peace. It doesn't mean people aren't, but and to have, wonderful, wonderful lives. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that people should be noticing, hopefully by now, the rate at which the next thing is coming along. But it's not because you're a failure. It's because you've learned to process and move yourself at a faster rate. You can handle more.
And I've noticed that with that whole Rubik's Cube effect, there was somebody I was reading one time that I explained the Rubik's Cube effect to them. They said, well, we know that we were soulmates and twin flames and all this, but why isn't this working? I said, because the Rubik's Cube is too much misaligned. You're not supposed to stay together to realign that. It means that realignment goes somewhere else. And with somebody else with another situation. You came together to resolve another aspect of it. It may have turned just slightly, or it may realign completely. I've actually seen both. And some people say, well, we're always meant to come back together. Yes, to a certain extent, but people have misinterpreted what this concept actually means. Heavily misinterpreted. I even hate using the terminology anymore because it's so static, but it's like it's more dynamic than that. I use the terms people understand.
Right.
So, yeah. And I do want to point out, when you use the term worst nightmare, you pointed to me. So I just wanted to point that out for the audio on this. But anyway, I also did notice one thing. There was somebody I ran into in Arizona. This was a massage therapist, and this person, noticed that being around her partner, what had happened was, she said that she basically started to forget who she actually was. And I was like, well, then you have to. You were saying exactly what you were saying, Jennifer. I was like, well, you have to realign that. What is it that you wanted to do out of this? And she realized that being in that relationship, I told her about the Rubik's Cube thing. She's like, that makes perfect sense. I always thought I was stuck here till the end of time because of this dynamics. That doesn't mean that at all. Right. And then eventually she just came to me one day and said, okay, I'm going to change this. And she was actually happy that she'd been told this. But and then, of course, I take it 10 stages too far and do the whole telepathy thing, with this person, and it freaked her out. But that caused a split right there. But it was but then she came back later on and said, okay, I needed to process that. I sometimes think that people are at a certain stage when they're not.
I do too. I've had to, when I go through my readings, just like couple readings, I try to see what level they're kind of at, because there's a total misconception out there. And some people are like, oh, well, I'm meant to go through this and we're going to be together forever. And I'm like, well, what are you learning on a personal level on this? Because I know the higher reason why me and my ex came together. And he was a huge part of my awakening, and he reflected a lot back to me that I needed. No one really did, because I had been in, lots of handling programming in my younger years. So that was one of my programs, was to get with men that basically kind of told me who I was, what I would do. And if I didn't do what they wanted me to, it was a whole argument. Handlers, but it will go on that higher level. I know who they are, but this individual, I'm very grateful, because it was that pivoting point in my life where I was like, no, I'm going to discover me, and I'm going to start being me regardless of, what you want to say. I started stepping out and using my intuitive gifts, and it started a whole being joked about being the 1-800 psychic, and the more that I stepped out into that, the more friction came into the relationship, and it taught me to be true to who I am. be true to why I came here. And I think a lot of people in relationships, when they're going through their soul journey and in relationships in general, they can get lost in, you know, shoving themselves down, hiding their stuff because of how the other person is going to react, how they're going to think, how are they going to feel. And I think it's beautiful that you two came together and you created a wonderful platform that helps others. And you're able to do that together. I know some friends that are in relationships, they're struggling because they're either more awake than their partners. And it's not easy kind of telling them that, you know, they may not be your partner for life. They don't want to hear that. And I think that the more that they try to get that to happen, the more that they start chipping pieces away from themselves because they're trying to conform into that Rubik's Cube, you know, and they can't do that. So
yeah, you have to allow it to realign how it's supposed to.
yes.
And I think it's important because what ends up happening and what, you know, you're bringing up in these preconceived notions of how something is supposed to be. I think that is kind of one of those foundational, again, belief systems that, you know, are slowly have to be chipped away that you don't even recognize that you have them. You know, you don't even recognize that you yourself have made a definition of something, and it's really not reflective of what the energies are, the bigger picture of what's going on, not really reflective of that, but it's your, you know, comfy, cozy dream. But again, you know, not that dreams can't come true, but, you know, obviously, you know, coming in and having these experiences, you know, we all want to be as comfortable as we can be. And it, like I said before, it's not always about that. You know what I mean? Although if you have a greater understanding of how things work, it does become easier to maneuver within it and make the changes that are necessary and, you know, have a bigger 70,000 square foot level understanding of some of these things that are going on. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't times in your life where you are supposed to fight. You are supposed to fight for your sovereignty. You are supposed to fight for, you know, your right to be genuine and authentic. I'm not, you know, even if that means, so for example, some people, again, they want everything to, when I say these things, I'm only talking about being a positive. No, there are some people born into this world that are supposed to be judgmental jerks. That's what they're coming in to do. And so they are there to have that experience of what it's like. Well, you know, for me, I wish you your highest good. I hope you get the full course of what it's like to be a judgmental jerk. You come to me being your genuine, authentic self. I'll sit there, I'll watch what's going on, and I'll tell you to take a hike because I don't care for you. You and I are going to clash, but I wish you well on your journey. And, you know, you should know what it's like to have a lot of people walk away from you because you are a judgmental jerk. So that's a part of my gift to you for you having this experience that you want to have. Good for you. We've all done it all. If you know what you feel like it's like to be good, it's because you've had lives on what it's like to be bad. So
yes,
you have the totality of everything. And so, you know, you want people, you know, and people don't want to, in this world that people want instead of what really is. So you have to get grounded into what is. Then, you know, people don't want it. So they want to, you know, also help fix somebody and turn them into, you know, you really don't want to be a judgmental jerk. Well, yeah, they do. They actually love it. And, you know, you have to accept their genuine authenticity. So my whole thing is, in the beginning right now, because everybody is a tangled ball of mess. Everybody. If you think
Yes.
for some reason, again, let me strip this out, that somehow we were completely individually and or now are completely individually just secure and balanced and whatever, it ain't true. It's a work in progress. No one's going to graduate from that this lifetime. And so it's a constant work in progress. As I said before, for us, there is what is helpful in all of that is a bigger understanding of it all that allows the grace of the growth and the choice. Are we still committed to what we feel people need to know? Are we still committed to that? Are we committed to our, allowing us to slowly chip at our imperfections, some people would call them? I liken it to taking the mud layers off of not being who you are. You're going slowly through a car wash, becoming more you, becoming less how you've been. And, are we willing to still be on the journey together as that process is going? So there's been plenty of times, we started this in 2017. There's been plenty of conversations where we're talking about our new understanding of something because we're growing through it as well. We're not exempt from this process. No one's exempt from it. But, are you, again, because people are so much looking for gurus who know everything. No one knows everything. Let me just take that off the table. No one knows everything. They may have cut a pie. And if you want to follow their pie, you can follow their pie. But does that mean? No. But you have to understand that, change is the only constant, right? Change is the only thing that is constant. It's guaranteed in life. It's going to happen. That, the truth is the truth until a new truth comes along. And bottom line, when you're heading towards, understanding yourself, which is the goal, and bringing yourself out, that, you have to deny the known and you have to manifest differently. It's kind of, you can't constantly be blaming all of this outside stuff for your messed up Rubik's Cube. And that's part of the goal of why we're here. Now, if you can accept that in grace, then you're going to be a lot more in grace about a lot of things, because, my poop stinks. Your poop stinks. Everybody's poop stinks. Let's get that off the table. Everyone's going to continually learn and grow with poopy, stinky poop every now and then. And we just keep kind of going through it all. But I think when people oftentimes ask us about things, they always want to know how to. And so we always try to leave with some basic, undeniable, everybody can do this skill levels. And in trying to be your genuine, authentic self, one of the first areas that we help people dust off is the area of what we call discernment. And so, discernment is huge. Most people don't know who they are. I always love to use the little girl situation. Little girls are taught to get along with everybody. But what if I didn't want to go in the sandbox with Mary Jane over there? What if everything inside of me told me not to go in that sandbox with Mary Jane? And you're telling me I have to go in the sandbox with Mary Jane. And because I told you I didn't want to go, I have to go apologize to Mary Jane for me having those thoughts that I didn't want to be in the sandbox with her. So for girls, especially, from day one, being little, all of that discernment was stomped out. You were told to ignore all of these things. So one of the first things is you've got to dust that off. And you've got to, understand that you do have an internal GPS guidance system. But what are you going to do if you start listening to it? Because what you're probably going to first find is all of the things you don't want around. And then what are you going to do about it? And so discernment is huge in that journey of, self-discovery of, we have to discern all the time, even as Chris, you're bringing in information and channeling.
We have to discern constantly. We have to vet the information constantly. Even our older stuff. We went back And it's like, okay, where were we tricked here? Where didn't we discern properly here? And you'll see on the YouTube and on our Rumbles and everything, well, we're taking the Pernian information and discarding anything that was not for basically for the highest good. Even if at the time it was meant more for us to experience, it wasn't meant for public consumption because it wasn't discerned over ultimately. So, well, that's why you see rebranding a lot of this stuff from all of our brands, trying to take the Pernian information, go from galactic history to everything else, to be able to present it in a way that is actually not just digestible, but also the fact that there's an actual resolution. And this irks me. There's so many shows out there that don't show the resolution to the thing that's going on. So many ghost shows, so many things like that. They always say, "Oh, this is unresolved, left unresolved. Why was this unresolved? You know, what did you not present to the people, or what did you not, what information did you not give because there was a yield involved there that there wasn't supposed to be a resolution, or what warnings before the spells did you not give?" So you have to, we put it all in there. I've noticed so many channels and so many instruction manuals out there, or even something like it, to where, or for a product or for a thing that either is vague on its operation or vague on how it was created, or vague what the operation of the thing, or the information behind how to, say, get rid of an entity, or how to make it so that it's harder for them to get onto your property. People always think it falls under one camp, either inner work or outer work. It's actually a mixture of both. You have to also have a resolution at the end on how to bring balance to the whole thing, and you never see it. You never see it in any of these shows. If we did something like that where it was on Netflix or on regular television, we would be clashing with the networks, because the networks never want to see a resolution. They want to keep a constant cycle of conflict going. And
Yes.
I've seen that a lot.
Let's talk about A, B, but we're not going to mention C. You know,
that's the yield, right? That's what we call the yield.
Yeah, that happens a lot within, most people listening to this are soulpreneurs. So they get into the online coaching field and everyone wants to give you A, B, but hire me for C. They don't want to, and right now, we're talking about what's happening on an individual level, but collectively, we need those solutions out there. We need people to start applying those solutions so that we can start to bring balance on a higher level. That irks me too. There's just turn on the news. We can talk enough about problems, like you said. Any of the major media stations, that's what they're there for. That's a great point that you brought out.
Well, it's one of the big issues, again, that probably, there would be folks that wouldn't want us to talk. And because we are solution oriented, part of it, again, we do believe knowledge is power. We do believe bringing out all this information and letting people know how it really is, and what's really going on will help people, again, be able to be more genuine themselves, be able to maneuver in the world, and to co-create the experiences you want. We talk a lot about, again, how are people co-creating ineffectively? So there definitely are forces, I think, out there that do not want to see humanity develop their co-creative skills properly. It's not addressed, it's not talked about. Right. It's nothing. And so all of what Chris is talking about is a part of that desire from some, that they don't want to see that skill being able to be opened up. Although, again, you have to undo a lot of years worth of learning how to co-create ineffectively.
Yes.
So one of the hard things to do when you're working on the co-creative side is to realize, what am I doing and what am I not doing? So most people, again, in the world, as you're bringing up what people are watching from whatever platform or, TV or radio, whatever's going on, is, again, a lot of chaos. And so when you think about this chaos, and then people start reflecting in their lives about the chaos, and they start thinking of things that make them fearful, and they start. So, and again, what are you doing? You're giving energy towards things to continue in a chaotic way. You're giving energy towards things to make you more fearful. What is the next shoe that's going to drop in that way? And so when you want to co-create, again, and Chris brought it up briefly about, the manifestation tools, but another manifestation tool is, in general, taking time to use your creativity to go to the end of what you want. So let's say you want a work meeting to go well, okay? Take some time to go into that work meeting in your imagination. And what is going on in that room? What are the conversations? We never joke. We never get time to just let her have. Well, what does that look like? What are you guys laughing about? You know what I mean? What funny things are being said? And you need to spend time going to the end with not grandiose stuff. That's the problem. People think grandiose too much. The simple things of life. It's like, if you're looking for a partner or whatever, what is it you want to be doing together? Do you want to be in the kitchen cooking together, laughing over a recipe that you just burnt to the ground? Or, you know what I mean? Having humor about life. What is it? See it. Now, what you can't do is put a lot of different connotations to it. You know what I mean? But when you want life to be a certain way, you know what I mean? Then what does that look like, taste like, smell like, the interactions? Get into the weeds of the detail and then start living your life more that way. Like, for example, I'm going to go to Walmart today, and if somebody's near me, I'm going to open the door for them, and I'm going to make sure I say, have a nice day, and they're going to smile and say, have a nice day back. That's the type of world I want to live in. Why make it so grandiose? I want the world fixed. Well, what does that mean? But, so if you start small in your own life and you start spending, time as you're sitting in the bathroom, it's like you have to retrain your brain to actually go out and imagine something and say, that's the experience that I want. So I think right now, one of the important things, as we say, with the chaos of the world that's going on, again, you have to know what's really going on before you can say, I don't like it, I do like it, I don't want it. And then you have to learn to not give it energy, but to give the co-creative skills you have the energy to be able to pull in now the experiences. And again, if people will just stay in their soul's lane,
right?
And stay in what they do and stay in their lane. And people do
and agree to disagree on
and agree to disagree. Well, that's what a lot of people actually want. They want to see different ideas, but people being able to just have that conversation, wish each other well, and go on their way. Daydream that. Don't daydream all of this conflict or whatever. Daydream that this is the world. This is what you want for, the descendants of humanity, and your experiences in life. People think it's an overwhelming task, but what they don't realize right now is they are being used and co-opted to create for somebody else and their agenda. And part of their agenda is to keep you co-creating for their agenda and keep you from spiritually growing to understand some of these things. And we're not talking high-tech stuff. I think, when people really start to understand some of these dynamics, and like I said, the history and really what it's all about, some people can very quickly, okay, I'm going to course correct myself in my life and start bringing it in. But you have to do several things. You got to get rid of the mythos that aren't true. You have to be willing to challenge your own belief systems and let go what's no longer working for you. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to say, I'm not a failure if I'm going through life and ending multiple relationships because they need to now end. I'm not, you see what I mean? This society
And
is
rinse and
so
repeat.
yeah, well, that's what we call the wash, rinse, and repeat. We've been doing that as a society for a very long time, kind of at a moment where the decision is, are we going to go down the toilet again? How many times do we need to experience going down the toilet? Or are we going to choose something we have not experienced before? So the concept of taking all of these different cultures on this planet to work on more of a unity in a sense of not identical, but unity in a sense of the commonalities of how would you like societies to work and get along and have basic agreements and this, that, and the other, and being able to respect one another and let people have their experiences. How do we do that and move on? And if we can do that, then we're greater for what's out there beyond us. But right now, a lot of things are co-opted. So it's that being co-opted conversation that I think that a lot of people don't want it to be heard. And because the skills behind changing that are not rocket science.
Yes, and also have the whole concept like what we were talking about, the yield, where you have 9/10 good information and then there's a bit of crap in there, and then you have the reverse where there's 9/10 crap and there's a little bit of good information. It's kind of the yin yang of the yield of information that's acceptable to put out there. I've noticed if you try to push that boundary, you get nailed. You have more drunks coming into your lane at that point as forms of distraction. If anything else, it's a form of targeting. And I see these basically drunkards not staying in their lane, and then half the time, 3/4 of the time, they don't know that they're actually doing the thing. So it's like they're being told to careen into your lane. They'll go whoopsie, and then now they just screwed your rhythm up. So it's I've seen that more times than I've had the actual outright belligerent knowing what they're doing. That's actually the minority of controlling a whole bunch of the drunks coming at you. And it's in that respect, that also requires balance, because not necessarily with the yield. I don't yield to the false information, saying any form of false information. I will never do that. But it's I always tell people that I'm completely against that. What has to be done though is to balance how, not necessarily how you present the information, but who you present the information to, and then let it disseminate from that point. And that's where I've noticed the balance has to be, where you have to basically, it's we also go by another phrase, tighter circle, deeper roots, which means you have the people around you that are more conducive to that energy, and then they can disseminate it how they choose to disseminate it. And it seems to then it spreads to a greater number of people that then also start waking up in the process. And there's one more point I do want to make. There's the awakening process. I've noticed that people think it's their job to evangelize and wake people up. No, that's a regurgitation of Christianity. You don't want to do that. The New Age movement, that crap. You don't want to do that. That destabilizes the whole system when you go to evangelize. And you have to balance that out. I learned that myself because I did too. It's like, oh, I feel it's my job. I have to wake people up. I even said this to a friend of ours recently. There's a fine line between informing and then you're putting the information on the table for some people, but then it turns into, it's on a razor's edge and it turns into evangelizing. And you don't want to go and destabilizes the entire system at that point when you do that.
Well, that's kind of how this whole podcast got started, with the balance thing, because we need to learn these skills of coming together to co-create. And there's not much information out there on the co-creation thing. And I went through the same thing. I mean, that's why I have friction in some of my relationships, because when I did wake up, I mean, even though my heart was in the right place, I was trying to force the information. And my sister would joke with me. She's like, you sound like the mom from The Water Boy. Like, everything's the devil. And I'm like, because it is. Like, they'll be eating, it's ramen. And I just cannot not say something about that, or, something that I know. But I for balance, what the universe did was brought someone into my life that did the exact same thing that I was doing. So I was able to experience what it felt like on the opposite side. And we see this a lot within the community with each other. We wake up and we're in a conversation, and it's just being human, normal conversation. You pick up the phone, you call somebody, you're talking about your day, and then all of a sudden they want to start mentoring you and offer. And I'm like, I'm not calling you specifically about that. I'm just kind of having a human experience. So I've learned myself to start asking, well, do you want my perception, my opinion on that, or any type of advice? If not, I'm not going to give it, because most of the time, and I know in my case, I'm not asking for that. Like I know I'm using my own discernment. I'm using my own tools. Sometimes talking to another person helps me see it a little bit better, because we're not all just individual. When I get connected with somebody, they start pulling out certain information that I may not be able to access at that moment by myself. So it is, we're all learning to come together.
Yeah, and the simple human need of just emotional validation. So, when someone may just be expressing themselves, and again, who are you? They, whatever they're experiencing, whatever is going on, sometimes it's just letting that energies out. They're too stuck. They need to get out. And it's not, again, someone else's job to course correct them or do anything like that. It's just a moment of being around somebody to just let those energies out. And if you normally also, if it's a revolving thing in your head and you can speak those words and get it out, it stops. And so it's a kind of this relief valve, and it's just sometimes necessary to be able to just let this stuff out, whatever it is, in a place where you can be just given that space to do so. Now, obviously, there's a difference between somebody who constantly is doing that to you. Okay. So I'm not saying you're a doormat. No one should be a doormat, again, to bad behavior, but to need to be able to express yourself and whatever it is going on, just to get it out so it will stop, is an important tool that you can use. But again, everything is, like we say, in balance. There's doing that, okay. Doing it all the time, not balanced, shouldn't be tolerated. I'm not your whipping post. You're not going to do these things to me. But, but within balance allows for that support system without judgment. Because who am I to not say that you don't have the right to have your feelings, whatever you're venting out right now? But we have to learn that, again, it's a bigger picture. The energies and stuff are a bigger picture. And, just being able, to be there to say it's okay to do this is good enough. That's all you need to, be doing for somebody.
I want to touch on something, and I noticed this, that I did this at the very beginning of my journey, like when I came out of my awakening. Having those human experiences, be mindful of yourself when you call one friend and you just unleash about your day, blah, 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 blah. You get off the phone, and then you call another person and you bitch about the same thing, and then another person. That is you out of balance. You need to check yourself, because it's different when you need to release that valve, because when you get it out, normally it's released. But if you keep going and talking about the same thing over and over and over, and I get this way too, like with certain things that I'm going through, or it's taking me a moment to process, I'm being mindful of who I'm talking to, how much I'm talking about it, because then it just becomes a self-validation for myself. It's like I'm just hearing myself talk, and there's a deeper deeper thing going on that needs to be looked at within yourself.
Right. Usually you don't want to release whatever you're talking about.
Correct.
Usually
Thank
you
you.
don't.
I was just
What you
going
want
to
to
say
do
that.
is when you just said the word I want to validate, what you want to date is validate your reasons for not letting it go.
Well, it can
So
get into a little bit of like victim mentality, and you really start giving your sovereignty away at that point,
right.
because you're bitching about a problem. And first off, if you continue to bitch about a problem, that is the universe's cue to tell you that something is majorly out of balance. And again, taking your sovereignty back, that's you. What's happening on the outside of you, the experiences and the way that you're viewing them, comes back to you.
Right.
And I've noticed that also, if you're, say, stuck at a part in your own past, there are beings out there that will exploit that and get you to relive that part of your file cabinet, basically, over and over and over again, force that particular thought in your head. Or if somebody said something to you, they will reinforce that and turn that into a really grotesque narrative after a while.
Yeah.
They'll build off of that. And I've told this to Joanna, and I've said this to people many times. These narratives, when they get in your head, they will also utilize past life information. They will use whatever information happens to be, even in the multiverse. They'll start to use some of this. Even things you like TV shows, they'll start to utilize that. What ended up happening in Arizona one time when I got really hit, I mean, there was this really direct narrative where I was living in this Star Trek scenario where I won't go into the details, obviously, but where Joanna died in that scenario, and I was having to do some other things in this one scenario, and then in the narrative, I turned it back around automatically. I flipped it back around, brought everything back into balance, and put my name as the credits as executive producer, director of the whole writing and everything. I put my name on it, and when that happened, I faded it to black like you would in film. There were several Draco in that area that were pissed at me when I did that, and it was like I automatically took what they were trying to create through me, and I took control of it. The reason why they feel they have to puppet through people like that is not only are they reptilian and we're mammalian, but there's also dimensional versions of beings that will try to co-create through people. And since they don't have the ability to do it, they turn them into meat puppets. So the reason why I bring that up is if you're in balance, you're not a meat puppet. So it's
Yes.
it's impossible to be a meat puppet at that point.
And again, that is the number one way to handle a lot of these thoughts, just to let you know, because again, one of the things we talked about are what are your thoughts and what aren't your thoughts. And how are your thoughts being co-opted? So it's one of the things that we talk. But if you are having a revolving thought going through your mind that you just can't seem to, it's like the song that never ends, that you cannot seem to quit. It could be something as simple as a confrontation at work. It could be, somebody, a colleague or something that's going on that is, so you have to understand again, that this is a moment for you to decide who you are. And so, well, there's all this fighting going on, but I don't like the fighting. I do everything to try to get along. And a lot of times there's all this misunderstanding. So take over and change the ending to something more desirable, and it will stop, because you've now not allowed, again, another form of how something comes in to try to get you to co-create your own chaos in your life. And how do you stop that chaos? So part of it, again, it goes back to some of the basics that we always end up falling back to. You got to know who you are to know what you are not. You have to know who you are and your value system. And again, someone who came into this world to be a roaring jerk ain't going to be watching this. So why are you watching this? Why are you listening to a show like this? Most people that are gravitating towards things like this are realizing there are these imbalances going on.
Yes.
And how do I? So again, when we normally talk about things, when people hear us talking in the shows and the presentations, we never, we tie the bow. We're going to give you, again, these bits of information that you will find that are not difficult to do, but you have to learn to undo some of the things you were doing.
Yeah.
Start doing these little things and you'll see it working and you gain better control of your life. But the narrative running through your head, there's a lot of reasons why these things are happening now. Obviously we talk about a lot of that, but just understand you do have the ability to change the narrative when you realize it's happening. It's probably been going for a little bit before you realize, wait a minute.
Your brain's been hijacked, right? And you have to take control of
that. Once you realize that, one of the quickest things you can do is let it play out again and change the ending into a way that more reflects who you are. You consider yourself a peacemaker, then it's a peaceful ending. Do you see what I mean? If you're,
yes.
I just want to get along, then you change that ending to more reflect, your genuine authenticity of who you are. If it's agree to disagree and then just part ways, fine. It doesn't matter. But do these things in a way where you change the ending to be more reflective of your genuine, authentic self. And then it will dissipate. And what will happen is you will become more aware when this is beginning, because you're knowing yourself well enough to go, why is this thought in my head? Right? What is this craziness? And you can pretty much then circumvent some of it before it gets very far along. These are just skills that people can't, every single person can learn these things if they understand and then have the desire, that everybody can do this. And then again, what you will find in that, as you are being graceful to yourself, you give more grace in general. You give it. You just want people to peacefully go along their lives, whatever their experience. I wish you your highest good. I have no idea what it is, but I wish you on the biggest of soul levels, the journey that you wish to have, and, move on kind of thing. So
beautiful. Lots of beautiful wisdom coming through. We're about an hour in. I do want to touch on something really quick, because you two are going to be coming up on a conference soon here in July. Do you want to dive into a little bit about what is the lifting? What do y'all do? What do you have to offer the collective, where people can find you? And then we can dive into the conference. So
we started it, like we said, back in 2017, and the goal was not only to just inform, but I also do my sessions as well. And
they're phenomenal, guys. I'm still integrating our sessions.
I remove attachments from people. I look for those spots in the timeline where they're trying to generate narratives from. Alien abduction, SSP type of stuff that people have unresolved, things of that nature. And also, if there's any ETs involved, military, all that other stuff, we get into that in sessions. And it's also, I've noticed in sessions lately, that's actually picked up pace. There's certain areas that have actually picked up pace, like some of the alien stuff has picked up pace, military stuff picked up pace. But what we're about in this area, we, on our shows, The Lifting, and also Galactic Interstellar Council, we inform both of galactic history, and we inform of some concepts people might not be familiar with or think they are familiar with it, and we just add to the totality of a particular concept, just like we did a World of Sasquatch episode not too long ago, where we went into the yield concept, the yin and yang of the yield and information, what's acceptable to put out there and what's not. The reason we put it in the Sasquatch category is when one of the forest people speaks, in that we put it automatically in that category. But it also could have been a lifting episode as well. We touch on those types of topics. We touch on even disclosure in the media. My friend Ryan and I, Richie and I, we go into some of the video game realm and movie and TV realm where they've introduced the yield or yield of information or particular narratives or a truth into these different topics. Things that people think they know well, people thought, oh, that's just a video game. Why do I have to look over there? Because they've added both narrative and truth over there. So we look into that. Now with galactic history, that people think they know that too. They don't really. There's some things that they've been told over the years that they think they know it well. Like we've gone into the gods and titans, Anunnaki, we've gone into Nibiru, we've gone into Asgard, we've gone into all of these type of things, Mars, Venus, all of these different topics people think they know. And we've retouched on a lot of these things based on what we currently know. Now I know for certain that we don't know the totality of the topic, but we know more than we did when we started, and this is why we are revetting a lot of this material. But I've also done land clearings in the past. I do a lot of the device creation where I actually put devices on people's land. I clear land and property of different entities and aliens, whatever happens to be on the property. That's another area that I've touched on myself.
So probably, again, the energetic side of it where, a lot of people started asking, does this really work? Does that really work? Does salt really repel? Does this really work? And so
we test all the old things, yeah.
Period of time to really see the energetics of how things are working and what helps. I think right now, a lot of the products and stuff that are made are all about trying to produce a more, again, sovereign, good, free of interference place in your home, and what helps with those things so that you can do your personal growth, so that you are as free as possible from some of this interference that is coming in. And how then, can you create a better environment for yourself, for your children, in just in, starting within your own personal home space. So we do spent many years creating and working
refining
with and refining things to help people try to create items that will help heal, items that will potentially open you up if that's what you want, items that will protect you during your dream time, and so we've spent a lot of time also working in that kind of energetics. And when you talk about the conference, a lot of people will be able to come and actually see a lot of the items and touch them. It's really fun to have energy sensitive people come, because they're like, what in the world is this and what's going on? So it's really nice that more and more people are becoming energy sensitive to recognize this and to get such positive feedback on those types of works too.
And I've personally refined down, like say the sigils, for instance. I'm usually leery about working with sigils because you don't know what kind of programming information that comes with it. Like we have this new Merkaba symbol that seems to actually be an enhancement on the old one, but it seems to filter out all the old programming and all the old junk that was maybe associated with some of the old incarnations of it. Devices like orgone devices. I refined down the tower busters. People think they know what a tower buster is. No, they know what they've seen. They don't know, like with orgone pieces. People assume if they're not energy sensitive, they don't know that they're only basing it on look. I base it on whether it works or not. I went off that platform.
Right.
I went off of, does this function? Does it do what I say it does? If it does not, we have to make sure we find the materials to make sure it does exactly what we say it does. And it took a while to refine those formulas and those that routine down pat. I've got the tower busters down pat. I've gotten some like the pyramids and all these other things down pat of how things work and what I know, what it does. And basically the line it can be at to also be safe for people to have it too. People always think I'm weird for saying, I always ask them what the square footage of their house is or what their property looks like. Why does that matter with this piece? Usually that's somebody that's not energy sensitive that asks that, but then they'll go, oh, I see why you're saying that. The energy sensitive will, because it's so overwhelmingly powerful. So these are the things we have to gauge. We're actually trying to have basically warnings before the spells, like the line from Doctor Strange. I use that a lot because you see a lot of these people that make some of these things, they don't put the warning before the spells, or they don't put it in the instruction manual on exactly what to do with it and how to do with it. So with that, I could go on and on for 2 or 3 hours on that topic alone, which I'm not going to do. So because I could see Joanna next to me going, John, let's go. So because she knows I will continue to babble on for 2 or 3 hours on that topic. So
it is important that people do understand that. Just like with working with anything, I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there. People are regurgitating information I see this with witch TikTok, and it drives me absolutely nuts that some of these younger people are teaching other people to cast spells, but they're not fully understanding what's going on. And here, other people like me come in and we have to like help balance that out. You're really just adding more work to the
Like
plate.
the Ouija board concept, they put it
Yes.
as a toy. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, they knew what they were doing when they made that
Yep.
a kid's board game. And it was a kid's board game because when you go back and you look at the old ads, it was advertised for children. And that was another thing when my son was younger, him and his friends, there was some YouTube video that was going on of a pencil, and it had to do with like calling in an entity, and it was a handmade Ouija board along the lines. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys don't fully understand what's happening. And not only that, but their parents aren't fully understanding what's happening. So then you get someone that thinks it's cool, that, they're going to dive in and start regurgitating the information. And then that's what eventually happens. So yeah, we could do a whole nother show.
Yeah, there's a whole other segment on that. Yeah, the warnings for the spells and what was cast on what and what agenda around surrounding what. That's a whole other realm right there.
Correct. Well, I mean, it's important that we do start to bring that balance back to ourselves, because we too are doing things without consciously knowing. The collective is, as we go through this co-collaborative effect of the reality that we are creating. So all good stuff. We did touch on, Chris and Joanna, I keep saying Joanna, my spirit wants to say that, Joanna, are going to be at the Full Disclosure Now conference coming this July. I'm going to post the links down below for that, all the links to where to find you guys. And y'all are going to both be offering the products that you are making for the collective, and you're also going to be speakers. So
yes. So yeah, we're gonna be speakers. I'm thinking now it's on. It shifts on the schedule a bit, but at the moment it's on the third day of the conference, as last I looked. But that could change. I've noticed they've had to shift some things around lately. But yeah, we'll have our products. We'll have our Oregon pieces, our shirts, our the symbols I was talking about before, and sessions. So.
Oh, you're also doing sessions. That's wonderful to hear. Yes, guys, just to give you some information about the conference, it is going to be July 15th through the 18th at Serrata Beach Resort in St. Pete Beach, Florida. So you will be able to see this beautiful couple there and hear them hear them speak at the conference, as well as check out what they have to offer the collective. Again, I highly recommend. Chris, I've told you many, many times, there's not many people that I do sessions with, and my higher team, even in doing sessions, I know what information they allow the other person to get, and you still are blowing my mind with our session. I have recommended you so many times, so I'm extremely grateful for your services that you offer for me. But I will post the link. I'm really excited that you guys are coming to the conference. For those of you who don't know, I got hired to help with the website and everything behind the scenes for this conference. So I was happy to do my contribute to the collective on that. So.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Well, I've been also, and Joanna can attest to this, been making a ton of products just for the conference. And there was a bit of a synchronicity, even though I didn't think of it at the time. Long before I knew this, around Christmas time last year, I'd made a bunch of product. Nothing sold. And then all of a sudden, later on, we're getting the information about the conference. It's like, okay, now we actually have product to sell at the conference. So
that's usually how it works.
That's exactly how it works. So if anybody sees a bunch of weird Christmas and Halloween stuff there mixed in there, that's why that happened. So, yeah. Joanna?
Oh, no, I hope everybody enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for letting us speak. And of course, as always, we always send great peace and joy to everyone and always wish you your highest good.
Thank you, guys. It was a wonderful conversation. It was an honor to have you on. Thank you, everyone who tuned in to this episode. Like I mentioned before, all the links to find them will be down below, as well as get your tickets if you want to go see them in person in Florida. There's a lot of things that are going to be happening that weekend that I highly recommend you go check out. It's a great time for you to start utilizing the tools and skills that we talked about in this podcast as a co-collaborating effort. This is something huge that we are doing as a collective and much needed. As always, you guys know what to do. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share out the show. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye now.
This summer. Join your fellow Starseeds, Lightworkers, and Experiencers at the 2024 Full Disclosure Now Conference this July 15th to 18th at the lovely Serrata Beach Resort on St. Pete Beach, Florida. Over 34 Montauk Project survivors, Secret Space Program whistleblowers, ET contactees, and psychic healers will be presenting in the name of the Full Disclosure Movement. The truth must be revealed if we're all to achieve our Star Trek future here and now. This conference will be a fun and positively life-changing experience for so many. In addition to 4 days and nights of presentations, there will be special event dinners, dancing, fun time on the beach, UFO night watch tours, film screenings, vendors, and more. Get your event passes and book your stay now at fulldisclosuremovement.org.
Thank you for tuning into The Balanced Visionary. I hope this episode has brought you valuable insights and inspiration. If it resonated with you and you feel like you can light up someone else's day too, please take a moment to screenshot, share, and tag me on Instagram. I love seeing your posts and getting to know you better on a personal level. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. Join us next time as we continue our journey towards aligning ambition with soulful success. Until then, keep balancing, keep dreaming, and I'll see you in our next visionary encounter.